Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into a really wonderful collection, Grandma's Bag of Stories by Sudha Murty. The basic setup is lovely kids visiting grandparents in Shigon for the summer, and every day, Ajji, their grandma, tells them these amazing stories. And for our deep dive, we've got this great summary source that pulls out the main ideas, key insights, and even some actionable takeaways from, well, more than 20 of these tales. So our mission today, let's unpack these stories, pull out those nuggets of wisdom, and really understand the deeper life lessons hidden inside. I'm excited to see what connections we find.
Yeah, and what I think is really special is how it's framed. It's not just, story after story. It's this narrative flow where
Yeah.
the act of storytelling itself, well, it builds this incredible bond between the generations. Learning just happens kind of joyfully and informally. It's part of the summer.
Hmm. That idea of informal learning, it really clicks. And it leads us straight into, I think, one of the big recurring themes I noticed, the power and maybe the danger of words. What jumped out at you first on that front?
Well, for me, the rumor is just such a perfect example. It's not just don't gossip.
Mm.
It really shows the mechanics of how a small, unchecked bit of info can just explode,
Mm.
right? Causes massive confusion, real harm. And thinking about it now,
Yeah.
it feels even more relevant today, doesn't it? How fast things spread online. Grandma might not have pictured that, but the core lesson holds. It really makes you pause.
It absolutely does. And then there's the other side of it, not malicious words, just too many words, like
No.
in the talkative tortoise.
Ah, yes. That one's brilliant because it's funny, but the ending is quite, well, final for the tortoise.
Yeah.
He uses humor, but it subtly teaches about self-control, about knowing when, silence is actually the smarter move.
Mhm.
It sticks with you more than just being told, don't talk so much.
Right. Wisdom in silence,
Yeah.
which contrasts nicely with the princess's new clothes,
Okay.
the clever weaver, the proud princess. It's not just vanity, is it? It feels like a sharp look at how people pretend to get things just to seem smart or fit in. It's a real nudge towards critical thinking and actually having the guts to say, hang on, I don't understand that.
Mm-hmm. And what's fascinating when you put those together, the rumor, the tortoise, the princess, is how they cover different angles of communication.
Yeah.
It really boils down to the responsibility that comes with words, whether that means like stopping gossip, knowing when to just listen, or having the courage to admit you don't know instead of faking it. It's the whole package.
Okay, so if words have that much weight, then our actions, things like kindness, honesty, they must carry even more, right? And that brings us to another theme that just shines through these stories, the value of, well, basic goodness, kindness, and honesty. Which story really stands out for you there?
Oh, the gold coins and the hungry man is really powerful. It shows this rich man learning that his gold isn't the most valuable thing he has. It's the kindness he eventually shows. It suggests generosity has these like long-term ripples. It makes you ask yourself, what do we count is real wealth? And how much does kindness cost us, really?
That's a deep point. And speaking of ripples, the king and the drum, that's another great one. A small gift from a king just kicks off this whole chain reaction of good deeds.
Yes. It's such a clear picture of how kindness can be infectious.
Yeah.
Small gestures can actually snowball into something pretty big.
Yeah, it really shows that.
And that connects to honesty, too, which is sort of the foundation for trust.
Which makes me think of the missing necklace. You've got this maid, wrongly accused, but in the end, the truth comes out. The takeaway feels so direct. Don't rush to judge and stick to the truth. And that's hammered home again in the reward of honesty, right? The poor boy returns the lost purse, showing that integrity, well, it pays off in ways maybe money can't. It's priceless.
And you have to wonder, why do these simple lessons stick around for so long across generations?
Mm.
I think it's because fundamentally, things like compassion and honesty, they're what hold a decent society together. These aren't just sweet little stories. They're almost like ethical guides,
Mhm.
showing that real value is in how we treat each other, and doing good is never really wasted.
That's a perfect way to put it. And it leads nicely into the next bit, because these stories aren't just about being good passively. They're packed with characters who use their wits, their courage, to deal with challenges. How did you see cleverness and bravery playing out?
Well, what struck me was the variety. It's not always one kind of cleverness or courage, like the uncommon doctor.
Mhm.
This person has really weird methods, but they work. It's a great reminder not to judge just by how things look and maybe to be open to different ways of thinking. Intelligence isn't always standard issue.
Totally. And then you have someone like Padmini in the story of Padmini. Her brains and bravery are shown as being just as key as her beauty. She protects her people using her intellect. It really underlines that strength isn't only physical, it's mental, it's moral. And it shows women as powerful, clever leaders.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's about quick thinking when you're cornered, like Rupa's great escape. This girl uses her wits to get out of danger. It highlights staying calm, relying on yourself, that kind of resourceful thinking.
It really does.
Yeah.
And that idea of wit as a weapon comes up again in The Clever Barber, doesn't it? He outsmarts this cruel king just using his intelligence. Classic underdog stuff, brains over brute force.
Yeah, and cleverness is defense, too. In The Monkey and the Crocodile, the monkey escapes betrayal because he's quick-witted. It's a sharp reminder, isn't it? Choose your friends carefully and don't be the one betraying trust.
Right. And sticking with fairness, there's the farmer in The Farmer's Well. He gets justice, but only because he speaks up and gets the king involved. It really pushes the idea that you have to stand up for what's right, not just accept being wronged.
You know, what's really compelling is just how diverse the examples of courage and intelligence are. It's not always epic battles. Sometimes it's just quick thinking or, like you said, speaking up. Or even the quiet courage of self-acceptance, which we see in another story. These tales teach you to look past the surface and value that inner stuff, the cleverness, the resilience that really makes a difference.
Yeah, and inner strength. That brings us to another really big theme running through Grandma's bag. The value of putting in the effort and also knowing when you have enough. How do the stories push the idea of hard work?
Well, the secret of the gods is pretty direct, isn't it? A boy learns the gods only help those who actually do the work. Laziness gets you nowhere. It's a straightforward message about effort, discipline, pushing through. Achievement is earned.
Definitely. And the lazy son echoes that. He's kind of forced into working, and through that he finds like, oh, there's actually value in this. It shows the dignity in work and maybe the importance of teaching kids responsibility.
Exactly. And that pairs really interestingly with stories about knowing limits. Like the magic pot. This pot doubles anything. Sounds great, right?
Yeah, amazing.
But a greedy person misuses it, and it leads to disaster. It's such a strong warning about unchecked desire. It makes you think, do we actually know when enough is enough? Because if not, even a blessing can turn sour.
That's a really good point. And it's not just greed for things, is it? It can be wanting to be something else, like the snake who wanted wings. He tries to fly, causes chaos. It's a clear message about being okay with who you are, appreciating your own strengths, not trying to be something you're fundamentally not.
Mm-hmm. If you zoom out, these stories are really teaching timeless lessons about self-mastery, about appreciation. They kind of push back against that whole instant gratification thing, don't they? Reminding us that real rewards often come from effort and that being content, well, that's actually a really powerful thing against constantly wanting more. It really makes you question how we define success and happiness now. Is it just about getting more stuff, or is it about finding some peace with what we have and who we are?
Wow. So we've just gone through this incredible deep dive into Grandma's bag of stories, and honestly, the range of life lessons is just amazing. We've talked about responsible communication, the huge power of kindness and honesty, then celebrating cleverness, courage, the value of hard work, and finally, self-acceptance. It feels like these simple stories are almost a shortcut to understanding some really fundamental human values.
And we shouldn't forget the wisdom of the framing story itself, right? It's not just the morals of each tale. It's that connection being built generation to generation through telling stories. And that learning can be joyful, informal, that insight from the last day of summer. Even when the holiday ends, the stories stick with you, creating memories, leading to new starts. It's quite lovely.
Yeah, it really is. Maybe the real magic here in Grandma's stories, and maybe any great story, isn't just the specific lesson. Maybe it's the act of sharing the story itself.
Yeah.
You know, how it connects us, passes down wisdom, reminds us that sometimes the biggest insights come wrapped up in these simple human moments. So thinking about all this, what really stood out to you from this deep dive into Grandma's bag of stories, and how do you think these sort of ancient insights might actually connect with your own world today?